heart attack. Fast fatal heart impact. Past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and pass. I back up my actions. Fact, don't ask. Grab reactions. Jacked attack with every word. Then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused. Call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose. Pick a new submerged juice. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now. Y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember you're discreet now. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kyusho here, and now, before we do begin this, let's at least give a brief little review. Now, I have made a part 1 of this series before. However, I wanted to change around the way things do work. Now, originally that part 1 was intended for a bit more of a hero series, but many people have voted on this potentially being a vigilante series. Now, I will not lie, that's a little disappointing because this power will be really good for a villain. Now, I'm also slightly changing up the way Zenkais will work for Deku, because if he does get critically injured, there's no senzu beans, which means he'd take months and months to recover, so that would basically put him out of commission every time he gets a power-up. Now, with that being said, Deku, he will receive Zenkais, yes, he will be able to be critically injured. However, he also will have the ability to recover from those injuries faster than normal people. Just so that this series doesn't get basically just, hey, Deku got his ass whooped here, so now he needs to spend a month or two recovering. Yes, it occasionally might happen, but it won't just be every single time he gets into a fight, and improves. Now, with that being said, let us begin with Deku and his family situation. Now, Izuku Midoriya, he lived a relatively normal life. His father and his mother, they met and they had him after Hasashi. He was a mechanic. Hasashi Midoriya, he was a mechanic and he did many things with vehicles. And one day whenever he was actually out doing some work and hanging out with friends, he actually ran into Inko. Now, Hasashi, him and Inko, they actually were very different from each other. Hasashi, he was more, well, let's just say, sketchy. He knew how to live dangerously and actually embrace the wild side. He was a little reckless. And Inko, she was more there for order. However, letting go of that order, it felt good. Letting chaos take control for a second, it felt different to her. And there actually was whenever Deku was born, because they decided to be a little too reckless. Now, Inko and Hasashi, they did try to stay together. The two, they did have their ups and downs. And Deku, he actually was quite intriguing to both of them. He wasn't the product of, well, typical love. Their parents, well, his parents did love each other. But Deku, yeah. He found things to be very strange whenever he started to grow up more. Now, there actually was over Inko. She actually started to get sick. And Hasashi, whenever he found out about this, he did try to stay by Inko's side, trying to help out and actually be around more. And that was whenever things started to get a bit worse. Inko, she eventually died from a sickness, and that left sole custody of Deku to his father, Hasashi. Now, Deku, yeah, he was very alarmed by his mother's early death, and Hasashi, he was not ready for this. He had to try and put that wild side and this party lifestyle a bit more behind him in the rearview mirror. Well, he was able to do that and set time aside for Deku. He still tried to hang out with friends. He still tried to be a little crazy. But now, he doesn't have the opportunities to do that anymore. Now he actually has to try and find proper work to get proper money. And that was not too easy for Hasashi. Now, Hasashi, he did get many jobs. He was an office worker at one point, and that kind of fell through because of his temper. He tried to work for a business. And well, while he was strong and he was able to carry quite a bit, there actually was the fact that Hisashi, he still wasn't raking in the right amount of money. Without him there to look after Izuku, he had to hire someone to do that. And since many of his friends aren't exactly good with kids or have any, they're kind of not too equipped to handle taking care of a child. Now, Hisashi, yeah, that is more of a drain on his cash situation right now. And well, with him trying to pay for that and then trying to pay for bills, he eventually had to turn to quite a bit of other things. Now, Hisashi still was able to work as a mechanic, but now he was taking in contracts for fights. Hisashi was trying to just put on a pair of gloves and fight for some cash. And occasionally he would come home bloody and beaten, and other times he'd come home with less than a few bruises on his face. Now, Deku, he actually would see his dad like this. Usually his dad would just have some bruised knuckles and a few bumps and scratches. And Izuku, he would actually ask his dad about what happened to him, but his dad would try and brush it off. And the two would always try and spend time together, when possible. Now, Deku, yeah. He wasn't really starting to become aware of this up until he was about 7 or 8 that his dad may have been fighting people. Now, Izuku, he actually started to have a few things happen with him. Whenever he was 4, he missed a trip to the quirk doctor, and Hisashi started to get a lot more busy with work. And Deku, he actually was in a bit of scraps himself. People bullied him because Deku, he didn't know he didn't know what his quirk was. And all these people who thought they knew what his power might be, they were a bit more bullies. And Izuku, he was actually even classified as quirkless by many of the other students, which, in his current situation, didn't do him very good. Now, Deku himself started to get in a bit of trouble, and whenever he actually tried to defend himself, Hisashi, he got a call. He was off of work today, and whenever he did get that call, he was told the situation. Him heading out to the school, as right now there actually is whenever Hisashi does stand there, him kinda with bruised knuckles, and even a swollen eye, he does stand there looking at the situation. As right now he actually see his son, who has been bandaged up, and another kid, they actually have been hurt. Now, right now the principal, they do try and tell Hisashi about exactly what happened. And Hisashi, he does hear that his son, he hurt another student because he was attacked. And the moment Hisashi does hear about that, he turns to that kid's parents and tells them exactly what to do. Their kid attacked his son. Right now their kid needs to apologize. And that parent immediately would go off on Hisashi. Because there's one simple thing. Their child may have bullied Deku, but Deku, he may have actually broken something. And that pisses them off. Their child was harmed by Deku. And the principal, they actually do try to be on Hisashi's side, talking about exactly how Izuku, he defended himself. And even many of the students can claim and even back up this defense. Izuku was being hurt by a group of kids. They all ran whenever Deku, he showed off his quirk. Now, Hisashi is here about that. Quirk? Now, Hisashi actually turned to his son, trying to ask him exactly what happened. To which Izuku would try to explain. Now, Deku, he was being pushed around by this kid for months, and his temper, it finally got the better of him. And well, after he kind of lost control a bit, he punched the kid harder than he wanted to. Now, Hisashi is here about that. And right now he actually is trying to ask his son what he does mean. To which Izuku, he would try to explain. The boy, he hurt him many times. And Izuku, he actually may have found out what his quirk might have been. Now, Hisashi is alarmed. However, their actions with the doctor, or not doctor, the principal, they would try to explain. They had the school doctor look at Izuku. And well, his powers, they seem to be durability based, but they do need him to go to a proper doctor. Now, Hisashi would take Deku out of school, and Deku, well, he does feel bad about hurting the kid. Hisashi tried to reassure his son. He defended himself and stood his ground. That's the best thing he could have done. The boy, he probably won't mess with Deku anymore. Now, Hisashi would take his son out for ice cream, and he actually tried to talk to his son about a few other things, since right now he does need to schedule a doctor's appointment. Now, there actually is Deku though. Deku, he does feel bad, and Hisashi, he would notice this whenever Deku, he seems to be sort of down and moping about what he did. Hisashi trying to reassure his son about what he did, and even trying to tell him he'll teach him how to throw a proper punch, because if that boy is going to try and mess with him again, Deku should know how to actually regulate his powers. And well, keeping them in check even whenever he's angry, it may be difficult, but sometimes it's the best thing you gotta do. His mother, she always tried to teach him this one important lesson, and it never really stuck with him, but hey, maybe it could stick with Deku. Sometimes you gotta run from a fight. Now, Deku does hear about that, before at least asking his dad if he can tell him more about Mom. And Hisashi just falls silent at that, thinking about exactly what he can't even say, and what he can even really do about that. Now, Hisashi starts to talk about Inko, as right now they're actually soon over Deku, he does eat his ice cream and listen. Now, Deku does go to a proper doctor, and the doctor, after running a few tests, they're quite intrigued. And Hisashi, he's actually somewhat concerned hearing about his son's power. It sounds like his own, but it's, well, different. Now, Hisashi does hear the basics from the doctor. Izuku's quirk is quite unique. I mean, his power, it's cell rejuvenation, but no, this isn't right. Atomic structures in cells like this, if they're damaged to a degree, they would not reform this way. Now, the doctor does start to talk to Hisashi, expressing to him that this does seem to be a form of cell, well, durability increase? He doesn't know exactly, but from what he's seeing, the cells that are building themselves back up stronger, and in a way, denser, more heavily packed. I mean, they're so much more squeezed together in certain areas, and from previous blood work that they've done on Izuku before, it does seem to be different. Now, Hisashi's confused, and the man is trying to express Hisashi's son, his power is every time he appears to have been injured, he comes back a bit stronger. And, well, it seems that Hisashi's son would be a very good pro. However, it's not just that. Deku, he's capable of lifting more than a kid his age should be able to. So, there's that. There also is the fact that they wanted to test if his speed was also similar to his strength. And Izuku has shown physical capabilities have also increased. Now, Hisashi's kind of alarmed. And right now he actually hears from the doctor. Izuku's powers seem to be that every time he gets hurt, he heals. He heals better. He heals faster. His quirk is considered a mutation, because exactly the way it's affecting his cells and his entire body. So, Hisashi needs to be aware of that. Izuku, every time he gets hurt, he gets stronger. So, right now the fact is, his son, he does have the qualifications for a very good hero. And if properly trained, one day he'll get into UA. Now, Hisashi's here about that. UA. UA? Holy shit. I mean, that sounds crazy, but... Okay, now, Hisashi does somewhat look at Izuku, and Izuku does hear that from the doctor. The doctor thinks that Deku could be a good pro, and Deku, he's happy. I mean, that that sounds so cool. Now, Hisashi does try and recompose himself, and right now, he actually does leave the hospital with Deku. Now, Hisashi, he does try to talk to his son, as the two, they're going back home about what they need to do. His son has the power to be a good person, a good hero. He has a good heart, and Hisashi, he's somewhat concerned. Him looking after Deku, it's good, yeah, but his son, would he be in better care with someone else? I mean, what he does is sort of sketchy and bad for a kid, right? I mean, he gets into fights all the time. He's always hurt. And, well, being around his son, is it really the best option? No. Hisashi is trying to mull that over. And right now he does think, if something does happen to him, he needs to talk to someone. Maybe see about what to do. See about talking to someone and scheduling if he ever, you know, loses a match. Maybe if something happens to him, Izuku can be taken care of. Okay, that does sound good. Yeah, so he'll talk to someone about that because it does look like something that might happen. Now, Hisashi has continued to take care of Deku, and Deku he actually is taught how to properly throw a punch by his father. And Hisashi he even has tried to talk to his son about sometimes holding back on an opponent. And he actually has talked to Deku about how his power could work well. If Deku he prolongs a fight, then he can get stronger. If somebody he can beat him, then things can be bad. But if somebody weak goes against him, and he lets them knock him around a bit before taking them out, he could also get stronger. It might be slightly, but hey, it could be a better way to get a boost. And Deku, he actually is happy about that. Now, Hisashi, yeah. Right now he does actually take some time off from work to try and help his son with this. However, there actually is one over Hisashi, he does need to get back into the ring and fight for some cash. Now, Izuku, yeah. He's going to be sent to a better school. Because the one they're at right now, if his son needs the best chance, then he can't go here. Now, Hisashi, he actually tried to take on more fights. And right now this does start to have an effect on his body. Hisashi would only sometimes do once a week fights, but now those are going up every 2 to 3 times a week. And that starts to take a toll on him. And there actually is one for Hisashi, he does start to lose some fights. People get angry. And Hisashi, well, he does try to get back up and try and remain undefeated. He actually does have trouble with that. People still want to try and knock him around. And, well, there actually is where Hisashi, he does get somewhat of a big payday. The fight that can change everything. The fight that can, well, help his son the most. Right now, 200k. That's what he can get for this battle. If he wins, then he will be cashing that in. So, what to do? Now, Hisashi is currently get off the phone with somebody. And right now, he does head out for that fight. Now, Deku, he would remember this day. He remembers talking to his father. And Hisashi even talking about how things will be when he does come home later. He'll be home a bit late tonight. However, he does want Deku to understand. He does care for him. And what he's going to do tonight, it's going to be changing things. Now, Deku does look at his father confused. And Hisashi tries to tell his son. He'll try to explain things when he's older. And Deku would watch his father walk out that door. His father heads out for a fight. And right now, Deku, he has a lot to think about. He always remembers that night. He always thinks back to it sometimes. He always remembers those words his father said. They'll change everything. Tonight changes everything. And Hisashi was right. However, he was right for all the wrong reasons. And Izuku will always forever remember that night as the night his father may have died. Because Deku, he never saw the man again. And Hisashi, yeah. He was buried after that. His body was found broken somewhere. However, the authorities, they did try to report back to everything on Hisashi. Going to the address, they just found a kid. And the kid, whenever he opened the door, their hearts dropped. They tried to ask about where his mom was. And whenever they found out that there was no mom in the picture, yeah. Deku was taken down to the station. Deku remembers sitting there. He was just sitting there thinking about what's going on. And he tried to ask questions about his father. But many people, they didn't know how to break the news to him. However, whenever Deku, he did have somebody come for him, he was confused as to who they were. However, the older people there, they told him quite simply. They were his mother's parents. And well, Deku, he tried to ask questions. And he eventually found out why his father never came back. Especially whenever they had his funeral. And Deku, he was always told by Grandma and Grandpa about exactly what their father did, or what his father did, and why his father, he may have been put into a grave early. Now, Deku, he did hear what these two said. His father fought for life, fought for his life. And Deku, he has that same instinct in him. Fight, fight, and don't stay down. Take a punch and get right back up. Don't let life be the one to knock you down. Just smile, get back up, and tell him he hits like a little bitch. Now, Deku, he does keep that in mind. And these two do start to notice something. Deku starts to take a bit more after Hisashi. Especially because, well, he started to become a bit more of a delinquent. And they got concerned. They have the money that Hisashi doesn't have. And, well, while they can't control Izuku, trying to help him out is the best that they can do. And Deku, yeah. Him being like Hisashi, they don't really like that. But they will try their best to help him out. Be there for their grandson. I mean, Hisashi, he was a shitty person, but he was a good man at heart. He stuck by Inko's side, and I mean, he used all his sick days, even whenever he could. He almost got fired from a job trying to be with her. And, well, yeah. A shitty partner, but a good man. That's what they can look at Hisashi as. They can respect him, but that respect is limited. Now, they are curious as to why Deku does do what he does. He always fights. He always just comes home bruised and beaten up sometimes, and he doesn't want to talk. He's got that stubborn attitude. But then again, he's getting up there in age. So, it could just be him being a teenager. Or, well, a delinquent. I mean, they gotta admit, even his grandpa was like that whenever he was younger. Always picking fights where he shouldn't have. Always getting into a bit of trouble. And Deku, yeah, he does still remember what his father said. Sometimes you gotta fight. Sometimes you gotta just take the hit and get back up. Now, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed, and have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part.